Hi, my name is K.Thomas, W1DED. Today I have with me Katie Campbell, KE8LQR. Katie's name first came to my attention when I saw that she was operating at Tim Duffy's superstation, Tim K3LR. Most of us know him from DX Engineering. She was operating with a bunch of young people for this weekend's IOTA contest. And when I dug a little bit further, I found a very impressive resume. Katie is also the Young Ladies Radio League correspondent. She is a Youth on the Air PR manager. She's presented at numerous hamventions, just a very impressive resume, and I really appreciate that she's taken her time today to be with me. Thank you for joining me, Katie.
Yeah, of course. I'm super excited to be here.
Well, thank you. So let's begin with your ham radio license. It's somewhat unusual to get a ham radio license at a young age. Is there a family connection?
Yeah, there is a huge family connection. My grandpa's licensed, my mom is licensed, some of my uncles have been licensed. So there was a family connection, but I also got super interested through a school club of mine.
Tell me more about that.
So my fifth grade year, our school resource officer, Wade Bully, November 8 Yankee Mike X-Ray, decided to start a amateur radio club for 5th through 12th grades. He was kind of in and out of the classroom helping out with some of the 7th and 8th grade science demos and noticed that there was a lot of interest with the ionosphere and stuff like that. So he thought, okay, like I'll start a radio club and kind of get these kids to be able to apply some of this knowledge. And once that was an opportunity, I kind of like looked back and was like, oh, hey, like that's what I was doing with my grandpa and my mom. And so from there, I was like, well, I'll join the club. And then after that, I got licensed and got very much interested in amateur radio.
So I think it's somewhat unusual to have a ham radio club in the public school system. How many students took advantage of that?
It depends actually year by year. That first year, I'd say there were about 20 to 25 of us that kind of joined the club and were pretty interested. Since then, we've had years with up to 50 kids sign up at first, and then kind of dwindles a little bit towards the end of the year sometimes, but usually we have around 10 to 20.
So one of the things I noticed on your QRZ page that you're very involved with Carol Perry and a lot of her presentations. And Carol Perry, for people that don't know, is a very well-known educator who for decades has been promoting ham radio with youth. How did you get involved with Carol Perry to begin with, Katie?
So I'm actually a member of YACHT, which stands for Young Amateur Communication Ham Team. I have been since I was about 11 years old. And the gentleman who runs that, Ed KG8CX, is actually pretty close with Carol. So they kind of talk back and forth. Like whenever Carol needs a new presenter, he'll give a couple recommendations. So Ed actually put me in touch with Carol, and from there she invited me to present with her for some stuff, and then we've been pretty close since.
So talk to me about those presentations. Where were they and what was your content during those hamventions?
So the first presentation that I did with Carol was actually at one of the online QSO Today Ham Expos. That was the first time I'd worked with Carol. I was super excited to do that. Those were pre-recorded, so I kind of worked on it independently, and then she put together a group of, I think, 4 of us for one of her forums. And then after that, I got to present at Hamcation, so in Orlando, Florida, with her. And that was the first time that I'd presented with her in person, which was super exciting. And then I also, after that, she invited me to present at the Dayton Hamvention. So I got to be in person with her again. And those have been super great experiences, all 3 of them.
Well, congratulations. I know for a lot of adults, it's very hard to do public speaking. So that's very impressive. How did that experience feel to you?
So I'm actually on my school speech and debate team. So presenting and debating and that kind of stuff. I really enjoy that kind of stuff. So it's been a really good way to kind of apply those skills. It is a little bit different from speech and debate. So it's very exciting to be able to have an impact on that many people just by presenting some stuff. And I've really enjoyed getting to be a presenter at these different conventions and that kind of thing.
So tell me a little bit about the other responsibilities you have. I see that you're the Assistant Youth Ohio Section Coordinator. What does that entail?
So I work alongside Anthony Luscre, K8ZT, and we kind of just try to reach out to as many different young amateur radio operators and groups for young amateur radio operators as we can within Ohio. We've worked with a lot of the local schools and kind of just reaching out Well, myself and another young lady from the PCARS Amateur Radio Club about a year ago started a youth net for young amateur radio operators in Ohio. So we've been working on that ever since. And mostly we just try to reach out to the different youth groups in Ohio and see if there's any way we can help them or support them. And we also reach out to the individual amateur radio operators as well to see how we can support them or their schools and programs.
So when you're not presenting or helping build a youth following in ham radio, what do you do for operating? What's your specific interest in ham radio?
Yeah, I really enjoy CW. Mostly working DX with CW. I do work DX with SSB a little bit, but I prefer CW. So usually I just get on 20-meter CW, like when I have time in the evenings and weekends and that kind of thing.
So as I said when we started the conversation, I noticed that you were operating a contest this past weekend. Is contesting something you enjoy, or was that a first-time effort for you?
So that was my first actual contest. My school club does the school club roundups, which are not like contests so much as something like the IOTA contest. Contesting is something that I'd like to pursue, but I haven't really gotten into it very much yet.
So how was the experience this past weekend?
I really, really enjoyed it. It was absolutely amazing getting to operate from Tim's station. Just the learning that went on in the short time of like 2 days is incredible. Like you get to see everything from kind of a different viewpoint. Like even if you have a station at home, it's so much different to be the strongest signal in the band. It's like, okay, like everybody can hear me at this point. Like I know that people are going to hear me. And it's just amazing how much you can learn in such a short time.
So did Tim or his team provide some contest training for you all while you were there?
They did a really good job of making sure we all knew what we were supposed to be saying and that kind of thing. We were all fairly experienced operators. I know I was with Grace, K8RJU, and Ben and Agnes Wagner. So we all had been on the air a little bit before. We've all done some contesting before, just a little bit. So we pretty much knew what to do. They did do a really good job, though, of making sure we knew everything about that contest itself.
So how far are you away from graduation?
I am a sophomore in high school this year. I have 3 more years of school before I graduate.
Any idea what the future holds after high school?
I'm not entirely sure yet. It's very likely that I'll go into some sort of STEM field, but I haven't really narrowed it down very much at this point.
But you expect to hang on to the ham radio hobby?
Yeah, I will definitely stick with the ham radio hobby.
Any final thoughts for our listeners about ham radio or your place in ham radio or what you hope for ham radio in the future?
I really hope that we can get more kids involved. I know there's a whole bunch of movements to try and get more young amateur radio operators like YOTA, Youth on the Air, or Youngsters on the Air, depending where you are. And I really hope that through those and through other organizations, we can kind of bring more kids into the hobby. I know how much it has benefited me personally and academically, and I'd love to see more people be affected in those positive ways. And just, it's been an awesome experience ever since I was 10 years old. Just having that license has been super incredible. And I hope that we can get as many kids and adults interested as we can. And I would also say to any young hams who are listening, definitely stick with the hobby. There's going to be ups and downs in it. Like sometimes I'm not on the air as much, and that's okay. Like I get busy with school and other stuff. So just stick with it, even if you're not putting in 100% of your time to amateur radio all the time. Definitely stick with it, and you'll get a lot out of it.
Well, Katie, I've got to tell you, you're a real inspiration. I'm so happy that you are involved with the hobby and that you're using your talents to try to expand it. I appreciate the time you spent today. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you so much for inviting me to be on here with you.
I've been talking to Katie Campbell, KE8LQR. I have a feeling you'll be hearing more from her and about her over the coming years. Thank you for joining me today.